computer, and we are ready to go. Y'all can share it from my page. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You've tuned into another COVID-19 edition of the People Before Politics radio show. I am AJ Woodson. Damon K. Jones is out and about somewhere, but believe it or not, it's not an optical illusion. We got the man, the myth. Dr. Bob is in the building.
Hello, Dr. Bob.
AJ Charles, it's good to be back. I will say, so I know I've been thinking about what I would say. So sorry to be away for so long, as AJ and Damon and other people close to Black Westchester know. There's been a number of different issues that I've been dealing with. Probably most significantly, my mother fell ill about a month or so ago. Which has been taking up time, but other things as well. And I've been working on some projects, AJ, which I'm glad to say are just about done. I've achieved the milestone. So,
well, I hope your mom's doing okay. I know it's never a picnic when you have a family member having health issues. That's for sure.
Yes, I'm very much in the sandwich stage, the so-called sandwich stage of the life course, where I've still got serious familial responsibilities to my son, who's still very, very young. He's only 21.
Yeah.
I was thankful for my dad's help, and now my mom is older, and she needs my help, and she's been the best mom she can. So I'm gonna try to be a good son. Good. So that's mainly what's been going. And I taught this summer, AJ. So it was a pretty intense.
I mean, that's what we do. Because as you know the story. We just approached our 6-year anniversary, and it was 6 years ago I came back from Atlanta to take care of my mom, who had stage 4 cancer. Right. And Damon, who I knew for over a decade, we had some music business companies together and stuff. He wanted to do this Black Westchester project. We talked about it, and I built it on my mom's bedside. And this basically, here we are 6 years later. So, this is our 6-year anniversary. The 3-year anniversary of the newspaper is coming out in 2 weeks. So anybody listening, you have this week and this week only to advertise in the anniversary issue that will be on the streets in 2 weeks. It is, don't wait till the last minute. Getting good reception. I appreciate that. Want to thank everybody for tuning in. And everybody also just want to say, first and foremost, so Damon's birthday was the other day, the 2 days before yours, Bob. 20 what? What was Damon? Damon was 20 what?
Right, the 28th.
The 28th.
His birthday was either 28th or the 27th.
Damon is the 27th, and right. Dr. Bob's birthday was the 29th. So I just want to officially
of July.
Happy birthday, yes. Happy birthday to Dr. Bob on the air.
Happy birthday, guys. Happy birthday.
Yeah, so
my birthday's in July also.
Oh, really? Is it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I prefer not to announce it to the entire internet for reasons that you can well understand. But take my word for it, it's in July.
Well, happy birthday to you too. Happy belated to you.
Thank you.
Yes, Charles.
So all these July birthdays, man.
Happy birthday to you, man. And also to Damon and thank you, AJ and Charles for the
Yeah, that's a common thread.
So everybody's birthday. So I just wanted real quick. So you probably, if you follow me on Facebook, and you have to excuse my coronavirus look today. It's just that's what it is. So if you've been following me on Facebook, you know that we received a National Media Award from the Local Media Association Digital Innovative Awards. They have 11 categories, and we came in 3rd in the local website, best local website. Some of the other winners this year in other categories was NBC New York, Pix 11, the Miami Herald, some newspaper in LA and newspaper in Seattle, a bunch of other shows. So this is definitely an official award. We got that earlier. We got that earlier this week, earlier this month. The award show was here it goes. I can't.
Yeah, I saw a picture of you. I saw a picture of you with like 5 different ones.
Oh, yeah. So that's what I was going to say too. So The award show was actually in May, but because of social distancing, they didn't have the actual show. So I got an email saying that we won and they need an address so they can mail me my award. And I'm like, okay. And I looked them up. I was like, oh, they're official. Who's these people? So the award, basically what I found out is there was an email that went out to people and it said they were looking for local sites that gave great local coverage during COVID to their community. And someone or more than one person recommended us. And I guess the award show people agreed. So it was basically for our coverage of COVID in our community and all of that. So we received that this year for Best Local Website. And then we received a handful of proclamations congratulating us for the award for our anniversaries. State Majority Leader Andrew Stewart Cousins. I just got an email from State Senator Shelley Mayers who needed the address so she could mail us ours. New York State Assemblyman Mayor Sayich. The Yonkers City Council President Mike Cater, and then another one from the entire Yonkers City Council. And then there's a few others that have said that, maybe coming from the county legislators and some other people. So I really appreciate it. It was a great look coming up on our 6-year anniversary of the website and radio show. This actually is the official anniversary of the show. We had our first show August 3rd, 2014. So the first Sunday in August is actually this is actually the 6-year anniversary right now today. And then July 15th is the
happy anniversary. Well, happy anniversary to AJ and Damon and Dr. Bob and there's been a slew of people who I've seen on here over the years. But 6 years is a long time to do anything, let alone run a live stream. You were live streaming before anybody knew what it was.
Right. So we were doing this show. July 15th was the 6-year anniversary of Black Westchester magazine, the online news magazine. And then on our 3-year anniversary, we decided to answer the call. People were saying we should go print. And we did the unheard of. We actually, instead of going from print to digital, we went from digital to print on our 3rd anniversary. And this issue coming out in 2 weeks is the 3-year anniversary of the newspaper. So we have a lot to celebrate, and help us celebrate is the man, Black Popular demand is Damon K. Jones in the place to be.
Yo, what's up, yo, man?
Rain Lopez will not be on today. She's with a family member, handling that. So shout out to her because I know she said she's listening, but she couldn't make it today. And she wanted to say happy birthday to Bob. She was going to come on and sing happy birthday to you. That's her thing. She sings happy birthday to everybody when she sees them. So,
okay.
Again,
I wouldn't want her to do the Marilyn Monroe rendition and make me blush on live screen.
So we said it.
It's really something.
We said it before you clicked in. So the 27th was also Damon's birthday. So we said happy birthday to Damon, but now he's here. So happy birthday from everybody.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Word up. Shout out to Matumbo Muhammad who's tuned in. Said prayers to your mom, Dr. Bob. She's like a second mother to all of us at 590. Same situation with my mom. So a couple other people listening, Marion D. LaCrosse, Nas Duncan, Sonia Wiggins Pruitt, Paul Anthony Cuesta, Yonkers City Councilwoman Tasha Diaz. She is the one who spearheaded the City Council of Yonkers giving us the proclamation. So shout out to her. Marvin Church is tuned in, and everybody else I can't see. But I just wanted to say all that. And so Damien, you don't know. So let me just talk. So we always have real talk. We had started the show off late today, Damien. They tried to hack me.
Who tried to hack you?
That ransomware. That ransomware thing you've been hearing about? Yo, where you got to call a number and you got to pay them some money for them to release it.
Yo, you know what? That seemed like it only happened on Microsoft, man. You got this guy. It don't happen on Mac. You got this guy running around talking about vaccines and viruses, and he can't keep his own computers from getting viruses and It's too critical.
Well, I got out of it without paying. I threatened their ass, and they released whatever and we're back. So,
Charles going to say something.
But Tumbo said, "Happy birthday to all the Leos." What was you going to say, Charles?
I was going to say, Damon, don't get a false sense of security, because those kinds of hacks absolutely happen on a Mac, and you're equally susceptible to phishing attacks. Maybe the malware attacks are a little different, but they happen on a Mac also, so don't get a false sense of security.
Well, I got an IP blocker, so I'm blocking all my IP.
Right. Well, that's what you need.
Yeah.
You need those kind of tools. You need to have malware,
right,
anti-malware. You need to have antivirus. You need to have software that prevents keylogging. You need to have all that stuff.
Yeah.
And the main tool is your brain.
Right.
You have to know not to respond to a phishing attack, and you guys, know what that is. And that's where it gets you. I mean, I have to say, I got an email the other day, and it looked like I had just changed my password at work. And then the next day, coincidentally, I got an email talking about password information verification, had nothing to do with it. It was a phishing attack.
Mm-hmm.
It happens.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
So Dr. Bob is getting a lot of
ransomware is real.
Dr. Bob's getting a lot of love. Somebody named A.K. Cole said happy birthday and said Baskerville is a good man.
Okay.
He said okay. Their Facebook name is A.K. Cole, C-O-L-E.
You have a fan, Bob.
It sounds like one of the Cole brothers, but my Facebook isn't working right, so I actually deactivated my account about a month ago.
Atif said it's him.
That makes sense. It's
Atif said that's him. Atif.
Oh, okay. So
he switched it up on us.
Atif, I appreciate the
Atif is incognito on Facebook now.
I got you.
So yeah, this is our 270 episode. And Damon, while I probably don't have to remind you, it was 6 years today we did our first show. It was actually August 3rd, but it was the first Sunday. Today's August 2nd, but this is our official 6-year anniversary episode, actually.
Oh man, that's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, so I want to just take this time, and then we're gonna move on. I just want to thank everybody. I'm like all the co-hosts, all the contributors, all the sponsors, all the advertisers, everybody who's helped in distribution, everybody who's helped in any form or fashion. Because even though you see my name a lot, you see Damon's face a lot on everything, you know what I'm saying? There's a whole team behind this, and various people have played various parts at various times to get us where we are. I'm not even going to try to name everyone because I will forget several people. So I'm saying thank you to everyone who had anything to do with Black Westchester. And most importantly, thanks to the readers and the listeners. We can have the best website, but if ain't nobody reading it, and we can have the best radio show, and if ain't nobody listening, it don't matter. So y'all are the most important. Thank you very much for holding us down for the 6 years. And we will continue to deliver news with the Black point of view and give you that real talk for the community that we do. You know what I mean? So that's that. We were talking, so there's been a lot of things going on. And I know Bob has talked to me throughout the week about the current occupier in the White House, who is basically making it his mission to undo anything that is part of Obama's legacy. And at a time, rest in peace, John Lewis. And let's not forget that. John Lewis has held it down for many years. He's the reason some of us do what it is we do now. You know what I'm saying? Because stand on his shoulders. But at a time when he passed and everybody's, having the tributes to him, Donald Trump is getting rid of, the Fair Housing Act and trying to mess with the voting thing right now, which is two big things that John Lewis, especially voting, fought for, bled for, and all of that. So I know the Fair Housing Act was one of the things that really was on your mind and you wanted to discuss, Bob.
So yes, I mean, one of the things I think is absolutely necessary now that we're almost 4 years into the Trump administration, I think we've gained a fairly comprehensive view of the president's policies and the way they relate to the historical challenges that we as a nation has confronted, probably the most significant challenge being the challenge of race. And since the very beginning, I was reminded of conversations that we had probably about November, late October, early November of 2015 when the election took place, and or I guess 2016. Yeah, 20.
What Richard Thomas?
When the election took place. No, yeah. I'm sorry.
That was 2015. November 2015. And Trump was November 2016.
Yes, yeah. I was confusing my memories of battles with autocrats, so y'all forgive me, whether they be local or national. Yeah. So I mean, in any case, I recalled as I was reflecting on some of the things that I wanted to say for this program, the kind of warnings that were issued by many of us here on the show about the likely direction that the president's policies were going to take the nation. And I think many of us have been braced for the kind of steady ratcheting up of racial tensions by the president as a deliberate policy. And that culminated this week with his call to rescind President Obama's rule regarding the implementation of the Affordable Housing Act. Now, I just want to be clear. He didn't rescind the act in its entirety because that's the law and he does not have the authority to do so. But President Obama apparently enacted an executive order that sought to strengthen it, the Fair Housing Act,
right,
by imposing additional requirements on suburban localities to open up the housing market, and he has promised to rescind that. And I think this should be in many respects and send an earthquake through the political landscape of the United States, because never before has a president flirted so conspicuously with the powder keg of race relations here in the United States. And as the president has grown more desperate because of his failure of leadership on so many, the dual crisis we now have of coronavirus epidemic and the compounding economic crisis, that this is a diversionary tact that he's using. Well, and it maybe not even that correct way to describe it. Continuing the unfortunate policy of Republicans of appealing to racial resentments as a way of trying to increase his support now that he's desperate. And this, that any president would resort to such tactics, I think augurs very, very poorly for the future of the nation, especially if the president is reelected. And so I wanted to talk about those things in some detail. Obviously, as all of us know, they have immediate implications for Westchester County because the question of fair, affordable housing has been a flashpoint in Westchester County politics, I guess, for about 3 decades or so, as the federal government sought to use its power to open up Westchester County's housing market. And some of you guys can fill in the details here, but I know that we just Westchester went through a major housing battle that led to HUD. Charles, because you look like you know this, okay. Charles. So,
before you go, Charles, you have a question for you. You have a question for you. Mr. Stern, didn't Pelham have an issue with the affordable housing thing back a while back, and will Trump's move affect that?
My understanding, well, affordable housing. So I don't want to, interlace these issues. I think what Dr. Bob is alluding to is the Yonkers housing desegregation case, right? Which was like basically where HUD sued and they had to agree a consent decree was handed down and certain amount of affordable housing had to be built in a variety of places in Westchester County. And I think when Rob Astorino was county executive, he was pushing back against that, but they ended up building quite a bit of it. As it relates to Pelham, my recollection is that Pelham was not a part of that consent decree. Either they already had enough affordable housing, or their demographics in Pelham, for some reason, it wasn't part of the consent decree. That's my recollection. I have to go up, and my recall is not perfect on that, Bob. But what I did want to do to provide a little bit of context around what you're saying is read the actual Donald Trump tweet from July 29th, 2020, because it's so naked and so ugly that it's beyond belief. So it's short. I'm going to read it to you. This is Donald J. Trump, 12:19 p.m., July 29th. I am happy to inform all of the people living their suburban lifestyle dream that you will no longer be bothered or financially hurt by having low-income housing built in your neighborhood. Your housing prices will go up based on the market, and crime will go down. I have rescinded the Obama-Biden AFFH rule. Enjoy! Exclamation point. Now, I don't even know where to begin to dismantle how hate-filled that is, and that could come from the President of the United States. It's just, it's just another one of these unbelievable moments. When I first, actually, my wife, we were in the car and she saw that and read it, and I was like, so does that mean that there's what does that even mean? Does it mean that he's going to issue an executive order or repealing the AFFH rule? What is it? It doesn't matter what he's doing, because what he's saying is so filled with venom and racial animus and anger and naked bigotry that it doesn't even matter what he's going to do, because whatever he's going to do, Joe Biden's going to reverse it. So I don't know what to say. It's laughable. Suburban lifestyle dream? Who's living the suburban lifestyle dream? I don't understand. So
according to him, you are.
I guess I am. Listen, I'm grateful for my lifestyle. I'm grateful for my suburban life, but I'm neither bothered nor financially hurt by having low income housing in my neighborhood. So I don't know. I don't know what he's getting at. But these issues have been rolling around for a very long time. In the Yonkers case, there was a problem, and they had to, there's a lot of communities in Westchester that don't have enough affordable housing. And it took a federal lawsuit to do something about it. And even after the lawsuit results came back, you still had a lot of pushback all over Westchester County, including at the county executive level, against complying with the lawsuit.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean,
they had to build a certain amount for the county of Westchester, and it was supposed to be sprinkled throughout many municipalities. But what they did was they built a lot more in Mount Vernon and Yonkers, and they upped their amount of what they needed and filled their quota. But they still didn't put it in the rest of the places they were supposed to put it. They just upped what they were doing in Mount Vernon and Yonkers, and maybe another urban city.
But, well, I mean, if we look at the 1992 African American Advisory Board report to then County Exec Andrew O'Rourke, and this what kills me about Westchester, man, because it's all in writing, and this is the sad thing, how they purposely move poor people to, at that time, Yonkers, Mount Vernon, Peekskill, Ossining, and Portchester, which, and they systematically destroyed Black businesses on 119. And they made White Plains white. So they systematically put poor people in these cities. And they didn't give the resources necessary to take care of the poor people. You talk to any honest social worker, right? They will place single mothers in need and all that in Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon would be the first stop that they'll look for housing. And this is this has created a problem for Trump to play on that, to make, you know, people scared. I mean, suburbs are already segregated. They're already basically segregated. You're not going to get an influx of poor Black people in your neighborhood. That's not happening, because communities, you know, for Westchester to be one of the richest richest county in the nation, you know, to be segregated, you know, a segregated county. And that lawsuit that was filed against the Spano administration, right, which they went through it by housing, but I mean, it proves the point of the 1992 report of the African American Advisory Board, you know. So, I mean, Trump's just playing on dog whistles and making people scared. But the reality is, you know, the suburbs are already segregated. The suburbs are already divided by wealth. So, I mean, it's already a problem, and I don't think rich white folks have anything to worry about.
One of the other things that, okay, go ahead, Bob. I see you about to say something.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on Damon's point, because in preparation for the show, I sought out information about the actual number of affordable housing units that have been constructed in Westchester County. And interestingly, the Westchester County government has a GIS office that makes maps. So they do have existing maps on the Westchester County website that purports to identify all of the affordable housing in every municipality in Westchester. I have reason to believe that this couldn't possibly be true, but set that aside for a moment. My estimate is that there's a total Westchester County government lists 649 affordable housing units, apparently below market rate. Those are units that are available not only for rent, but also for sale. Now, you know, I wonder whether that's in fact accurate, but more importantly, it suggests that Donald Trump's proposal is a solution in search of a problem, because, to underscore what Damon said, despite the requirements of the consent decree, it appears that through resistance from the very highest levels of the county, there has been very little effort to extend affordable housing beyond the strong African-American Latino strongholds, which would be Yonkers, Mount Vernon, you know, maybe a little bit North Shell. And interestingly, I mean, you know, we can think about how accurate it is and ways to maybe do some follow-up. But even the city of Mount Vernon, according to the website, only has, according to the website, there are only 66 affordable housing units in the whole city of Mount Vernon. But I don't think it's accurate.
What? Say what? What?
Could that be?
Exactly.
600 or 66?
No,
It's only what?
in all of Westchester County, according to the website, there's only 649 affordable housing units that the county has identified. I found a database for New York State. I didn't get to go through it as thoroughly. It didn't seem to list the number of units, but it only had 150 listings from New York State.
these are old issues. I mean, that lawsuit that you're referring to had its roots in like 1980.
Right.
My recollection is that Spano agreed to settle the lawsuit, and that settlement was in the 2009 timeframe.
Right. It's right before he left office.
Right. And I don't know how many units have been built since. Probably not that many. I think I didn't prepare as well as Bob, but my recollection was that there were supposed to be 750 new units built.
Something like that.
They were going to be distributed. They were going to be distributed all over Westchester. I've heard stories. Some of it got built. Some of it didn't get built. Someone asked a question earlier about Pelham. Again, I'm going off a recollection because I haven't looked at this stuff in a long time. But my recollection is that the village of Pelham was above the threshold and did not need to be included in the list of cities that were eligible for the new affordable housing. But Pelham Manor, I think, was. I could be wrong about that, but that's my recollection. Because there were specific criteria that the court said, you know, if you have below this number of units and you have this much population, then you need to build more affordable housing. And people push back on it, and there'll be lawsuits that'll go on forever. At the end of the day, people need housing.
Right. But that was part of, I mean, the implementation came under Astorino's administration. And Astorino, I mean, he did put up an argument, which was a factual argument that he said was the fact that there are cities that in their charter, right, forbidded multifamily dwelling. That's how they segregated, because when you're dealing with multifamily dwelling, you're dealing usually with people of a lower income, right? So these cities had in their charter, right, that no multifamily dwelling could be built. And then that was the stalemate throughout the Astorino administration. And he was refusing to force, which he said he couldn't. He probably could, but which he said he couldn't force Chappaqua, right, to have a multifamily, a building with low income. But in my research at that time, this was a way for them to keep low income families out of these cities.
Zoning.
I mean, not just in Westchester, but in Nassau and Suffolk and in different counties throughout New York State, to make sure that they didn't have a lower income bracket families in their cities to forbid multi-family dwellings.
Right. So they were using zoning as a mechanism to hold down segregation, basically. Yeah,
absolutely. And I still today say Westchester is one of the most segregated counties in the nation. We just don't talk about it.
By design.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, how are you going to say under Obama administration, right? Under the black president, who at one time the majority of his cabinet was from Westchester County. Roots in Westchester. Right. To say that Westchester was the most segregated. You got all the CEOs, a lot of the big companies, all the superstars and all the big people have homes in Westchester. Nobody wants to talk about, that Westchester is one of the most segregated counties in the country, right? It is up south, straight up.
I will say, I think that the Obama administration tried to do something about it, even in Westchester, because I can recall, I went to a town meeting a few years ago at the Pelham Village Hall. I guess it must have been 2010 or 2011. And Astorino was there, and he was complaining about the Justice Department making unreasonable demands for speed and for the number of units and all this. And I think they were on the case, notwithstanding, all of the Obama people that were living here. I think that the Obama Justice Department was trying to do something. Look, here's the deal. This is going to get normalized when Biden comes back in, because it's going to be a different administration. It's going to be a different worldview. And some of these initiatives are going to have the dust blown off of them. That's my thinking.
And that's your hope. That's your hope.
Oh, we have to, you know, we have to hope. We have to hope for something, because it can't stay like this, right? What we have right now is a sham and an authoritarian regime that is extremely dangerous. It's a threat to democracy. I mean, it's an existential threat to the country practically. So it's got to, you know, it's got to get better. But Biden's got to win first.
There's this. I've been hearing Democrats say they don't really like some. I'm not saying a bunch of people, but I'm saying that they're not going to vote for Biden because they don't like him. I said, so you want Trump to win? No, I'm not going to vote for Trump. So I might not vote. So if you don't vote, that's almost the same as voting for Trump. I'm just saying. Not voting is never the answer.
Yeah.
Not Damon, to your point though, Westchester is a very segregated place. People live very separate lives here, and where I think, in my own experience, it really shows up is in the schools.
Yes.
And that's very sad, and it's very, very hard to fix. I think that employment and housing will level off faster than the school systems, because we have a system where each individual little municipality, these, you know, very dense, white, high density places like Bedford, Bronxville, Eastchester, Pelham Manor, Larchmont, Mamaroneck, these places, each one of them has their own school system, right? And that system of, you know, really bounding the school districts with the municipalities, giving each one of them its own superintendent, its own business office, its own district boundaries. Its own school board. That's locking segregation in place indefinitely. So you can, you know.
What do you think about? Okay, go ahead, David.
Is resources also. I mean, if it's the lack of resources. You cannot systematically put poor people in an area and not give that municipality resources. My argument all along, especially for Mount Vernon, that residents should sue the county and state for reparations. You cannot continue to go and keep building buildings and putting more families with need in a city and not give the necessary resources. This is why you see crime. You know, they say, well, you know what, you know, all this crime and violence in the majority Black neighborhoods, or poverty creates crime and violence, and the way the systems are, they set up crime and violence because you overburden the school system. You know, I spoke at Mount Vernon High School a couple of years back, and we was in we social studies or something, and there wasn't no social studies books in the class. Like, where's the books? When the kids have to make copies, when the teachers have to make copies of a book and give it to the students, right? When will we see something wrong? When we're not investing in job training, and these are the things, because of the money, right? Because of the state and the county is not giving the necessary money. The residents in Mount Vernon should sue the state and the county the same way that organization sued the county for housing. They should sue for reparations, for funding, because you systematically put these people here, and you did not give the financial aid that is needed to take care of people that are in need, and all the way down to after school programs and daycare and everything. They did not do that, right? Someone put on Facebook, which was real. They took a picture of the Westchester County Building Social Services and said, "This is the real City Hall of Mount Vernon, right here." And they were absolutely correct, right? And the sad and what's crazy about this report here, right? You had Ruth Hassel Thompson, but was on the African American Advisory Board. You had Andrew Stewart Cousins. You had all the big time players that are big time now, right? They were just coming up the political ladder then, right? And I love them all. But that report, why hadn't nobody acted on that report? So you put a report out, and then you don't act on the information. And this is not just for Mount Vernon, just for Greenberg, how they systematically took people's property and promised people all down 119 in White Plains and Greenberg was Black-owned businesses. How they systematically tricked those people to sell their property. There was one store, Tasty Freeze, owned the whole corner lot, tricked them out. He ended up renting where the mall is on 119, and he couldn't afford the rent, and he had to close his business down. These are the things that they did. My aunt owned the last Black-owned business, and they recently closed 3 years ago. The last Black-owned business that owned property in Greenberg. Now there's no Black-owned businesses on 119 that actually own the property. Like, we're going backwards. We're going backwards in Westchester County. And nobody is acting on it. Nobody wants to talk about it. And it's in writing, right? And they talk about the lack of Black male teachers. This is in 1992. They talk about the middle class of Westchester County was based on corrections and General Motors, right? There were more Black men employed in the Westchester County of Department of Corrections than any civil service department in anything in Westchester County. And then there are more Black people employed in General Motors. General Motors is closed, and the last couple of academies, you barely see you see a twinkle of Black people coming in corrections. With historically, it was a majority of Black and brown people. So like we're literally going backwards, and a lot of these things were predicted, was talked about in this report. So sometimes you think, what the hell is it to have a report and we don't act on it? Like we have to act, because what we see now, right, it was already predicted. Like, and they give in the report, they give recommendations. I was on George Lattimore's transition team in criminal justice. Only thing I did was staple the recommendations from the 1992 on the criminal justice recommendations. Nothing. So that means nothing has changed. I just said, you know what? Let's just take this and put this in the for the county to do, because they haven't done it since 1992. So we're literally moving backwards, and we have to have these conversations, because if we don't have these conversations, if we don't put this thing out there, nobody's going to talk about it. And then they're gonna come up with cream puff recommendations and legislations that's just for the moment, right? We need something that's going to last generations, man. All right,
very interesting. No, it's very interesting. I'm actually looking at the document right now that you're talking about. It's called A Blueprint for Change: Strategies to Improve the Quality of Life for African Americans Living in Westchester County.
No, that's not it, is it?
2010.
Well, there's two of them. They followed it.
Oh, somebody send me the
in 2010 with something else.
I never seen the 2010.
Charles, send that to Damon.
Please send me the link.
He's talking about
I'm
1992. Yeah,
I'm talking about 1992.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna put the link in the
yeah,
chat.
please do, because I would like to see the 2010.
Boom.
Because I heard there were one out, but nobody. But that's great that there is a 2010, and we need to see
he just put
what is the recommendations, for.
He just put the link in the feedbacks in the comment section on
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
I'm going to the executive summary here. Let's see what it says. There's a segment on economic development, housing. African Americans have been the hardest hit by the recent economic crisis, and that was 10 years ago. housing crisis, studies show. Then there's a section on health and human services, section on education. And it talks about the ever-widening concern among educators, parents, and civic leaders about the inability of our school systems to address the needs of Black students. Dismal conditions common in many of our schools provide limited opportunities for enrichment in culture, reading, music, and the arts. I'm trying to see if there's a specific set of recommendations in here.
As Charles looks, I don't know what the recommendations are within the report. I simply don't recall them. I do want to point out that much of the discussion, at least from more progressive thinkers, on the question of inequities in our educational system, focus on the need to eliminate some of the endlessly proliferating school districts that Charles mentioned often serve as a bulwark against, in combination with some of these zoning laws, a bulwark against Black people making inroads into some of the white majority municipalities. You know, and in principle, actually, I don't, well, let me rephrase this. In principle, I actually am uncertain that the kind of vision of racial integration that was championed by a previous generation of civil rights leaders, including Martin Luther King, but also the recently deceased John Lewis, is not the answer. Instead, I think for complex reasons, including that Black people don't mind and may indeed often prefer to live in majority Black neighborhoods or neighborhoods where you have a plurality of Black people. Therefore, in many respects, the push to open up housing in majority white suburbs may be misguided, although some of the discussion, and I'm sure AJ and anyone who has been listening to the commentary over the past couple of days about the president's remarks have noted that there have been many who have pointed out that actually we're seeing the suburbanization of people of color from the central cities as gentrification really takes off and people are finding it more and more difficult to stay where they're at. So in some respects, right, we're caught in a bind between a vision of equity that makes racial integration the linchpin, when in fact there are many forces that work against it. And I say that to say that the real issue is the equalization of tax, the distribution of local taxes.
That's it. Bob, you put your finger on it. It's about resources, right? And the way, when I sat on the school board in Mount Vernon, I felt like it was barbaric, okay, that we were using local property taxes as a way to fund education, because people have less ability to pay, right? If you have lower median income and you have lower assessed valuations because the houses are worth less, then you have a compromised ability to fund your public education system. You go to a community with much more resources and they can, have higher valuations for their homes, they can afford more to pay more taxes, and they can afford to pay more on top of their taxes. And now some would say, well, a place like Mount Vernon gets a lot more state aid than a place like Pelham, and that's true, but it doesn't even close to equalize it. And the very fact that, you know, the amount of dollars that go to an individual child's education is so much higher in Scarsdale than it is in Yonkers, to take this away from Mount Vernon for a second. It's barbaric, it's unethical, and it's barbaric. And then to tie the community's ability to fund its school system to its housing stock makes no sense. And then to make matters even worse, you create a voted school budget and you basically pit the homeowners against the kids. So there's just, it's all wrong. It's all broken. And, you know, I hope some really smart people get elected in this round. And some of these folks these new folks who've, you know, coming through here are going to be thinking about things a little differently than the gang that they replaced, because the whole structure of it has to change. To do something about income inequality, to do something about racial equity, you got to take a completely different approach to public education. I'll take a breath for air.
And I want to add that. No, go on, AJ. Go on. I'm sorry.
I wanted to say something different. I'm not saying that we shouldn't live in different communities. I'm saying I'm not completely sold that the segregating into other communities. When we were in our own communities, we had to have our own businesses. We had our own doctors. We had our own support structure. We recycled our dollars because we supported each other. And once we started the segregation thing, where our businesses were hurt. You understand what I'm saying? We had, I mean, Black Wall Street is one example, but they had a lot of communities smaller communities where they all supported each other. You understand what I'm saying? You went to the doctor down the block, the doctor was local, because you couldn't go to the white doctor, so you had to go to the black doctor. You know what I'm saying? But you had to go to the black stores because you couldn't go to the white store, but you were supporting your stores and your local businesses in your community, and you were recycling your dollar. I'm not saying we should go back to that, but I'm saying we've lost some of that, and I think we lost sight of some of that, the importance of that, with wanting to be in some places where we weren't welcome and they don't want us. So I just wanted to put that aspect out because, you know, it's a little different than whatever else.
But I think there's a difference of of Black people building their own community and flourishing like a Black Wall Street,
right?
Than the systematically,
right. No, I agree.
Putting people that are already in need and not giving the resources. You know, like why would, all right, if you're gonna put somebody, you know, a burden on me taking care of somebody, you know, then give me the resources to do so, right? So I mean, and then after let's say 20 years of that, you create an atmosphere, you know, of poverty and crime and violence, and then you want to blame those people, you know, and you want to blame the people in the city, you know. But when the systems have created that, you know, and we still and we still don't, you know, they still address. Now, you know, I'm looking at you know, the list, and you know, they're talking about, they do talk about housing, and I'm going to read the report and see where we at, because, you know, where are the wave of Black businesses in Westchester County, right? And when you're talking about education, you know, where do Black people rank? You know, where are these schools ranked on education, and what are the alternatives? You know, we're still trying to get these school districts to talk about training, right? We're still plumbing and electrical and all these, right, and all these programs, you know, because they have to do it at one point. They have to see an alternative. Not everybody is going to college, right? And if you know, I mean, Malcolm said it best, man. If you live in a poor neighborhood, you're gonna go to a poor educational system. And then you go to a poor educational system, you're going to get a poor paying job that puts you right back in the poor neighborhood, right? So the cycle continues. But the question is, when do we want to break the cycle, right? When do we want to? It's good, you know, it's good to say, you know, we have this percentage of going to college, but what about those, you know, that don't want to go to college? You know, because when I was in school at Willard High School, they had auto mechanics, they had wood, they had everything going on, you know, and And it might not be there now, but then they switched and send all the kids over to BOCES, right? So, but each
Do they even have
municipality.
BOCES anymore? Do they even have BOCES anymore?
Yeah, it's still there. Yeah, it's still there, but not all school districts send their kids to BOCES. You know, not all school districts utilize BOCES, which they should. You know, if you're not going to do it in your own school system, I mean, utilize what's already there. You know, and that's the question. You know, I mean, if you're not going to put it in your school system, you know, they need to know why they're not utilizing, you know, BOCES, shipping these kids off up to Valhalla and let them get a trade. What's the problem? What's the problem? And we have to have, like, now's the time to have these discussions, right? Because if they're talking about defunding the police, right, then we need to look at these issues and these social issues.
I agree, Damon.
And address them now before they become police issues. That's the proper way to defund the police, right? How do we fund these issues before they become police issues?
Damon, I think they're resourcing. You guys are bringing up multiple things, right? And, you know, the old question about, you know, has integration been a big fat failure? There's a good intellectual argument that it hasn't worked particularly well. But you know, I don't want to sound completely ridiculous. I mean, there are people I know who remember what life was like in the segregated South. They didn't have options, and it was worse. They say it was worse. So, you know, it's a complex matter. What I'm asking is resourcing, right? There is no way on earth to rationalize that a kid in Hartsdale or Scarsdale is availed of $28,000 or $29,000 a year for their education, and a kid in Yonkers or Mount Vernon, and that number is, you know, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 less. There's just there's no way to rationalize it. And I would even go even further and take a different view, which is that maybe, you know, the kid in Mount Vernon needs even more because there's a bunch of social issues surrounding their life that maybe they're more complicated to educate in the first place. It just needs to be said. So that's all got to get looked at, because the system that we got right now, it's never going to straighten out the way it is, because the boundaries of the municipalities are holding inequality in place. They are holding, never mind segregation, they're holding inequality in place. If you don't have the same I just feel like every kid should have the same opportunity. That's like a baseline thing, right? But it's not so easy to provide the same opportunity to every kid. It's not enough to say, well, you got the same teacher's contract, you got the same teachers, you got gym, they got gym. No, it's not that simple. It's about resourcing. It's about devising a program that's appropriate to the level of every single kid, and dealing with the resources that kid needs to be successful. So now you got COVID-19, you got kids at home. Some of them, maybe there's one computer in the house, but there's 4 kids. Or there's no computer in the house. There's a computer in the house, but grown-ups don't know how to use it. You know, so these issues are all 10 times worse because of COVID-19. And now is the time to start asking those questions. Why do we need 40 school districts? Or I think in Westchester County, there's 40 school districts, 40. Why do we need that? Maybe there should be 4 districts. Maybe there should be 1 special ed district for the entire county, so everybody will have access to the resources that they need. Think about the whole thing a little bit differently. It's 2020. There's a pandemic going on. It's time. There's a bunch of new people coming into Congress and the state legislature. Let's unravel this thing and put it back together a little differently. That's all I'm saying.
No, I agree.
Bob's been kind of quiet.
I surely agree with Charles. I think also that what is going to be required is a total rethinking of the nature of federalism and the relationship between the federal government and our state and local governments. One of the reasons that we see the kind of fragmentation that we do in so many systems throughout the United States, that in some respects are beyond the regulation of the federal government is precisely because we grant state and local municipal governments wide swaths of areas, social life where that's exclusively theirs. So not only do we have a problem in the United States with very sharp educational inequality, but closely related to this, I think, is what has been revealed to be the functional illiteracy of too many segments of the American public. Those things are going hand in hand. The refusal to equalize resources across geographic regions is the one side of a coin that also refuses to embrace any kind of coordinated national educational policy. And the net result has been that the United States has fallen progressively behind its peer nations. We can see this in the abysmal performance. The abysmal performance. Yeah. We should all be ashamed of ourselves. The United States was once hailed, no matter all the problems that we had, we were hailed as the leading nation in the world. We were a global leader. And the president's mishandling of the coronavirus epidemic with the tacit support of the Republican Party owes to its fundamental hostility towards any kind of national policy making in any area, whether it be tax policy, educational policy, criminal justice policy, economic policy that would look to try to counterbalance the toll that deindustrialization has taken on us. We refuse as a nation to do this, and it is really catching up with us. And I am hopeful myself that just the sheer objective pressure that the United States finds itself under will force the Democratic Party, under the presumptive leadership of Joe Biden, should he win, to actually move a little bit more in that direction. And I say, in some respects, that might be a little unsettling, right? Because it goes against the grain of the common sense understanding of the American, large swaths of the American public as to why we have the problems we have, what is the nature of freedom in our society, what is the role of the federal government. We're living in an era of extreme libertarianism. This is seeing the collapse of the social safety net. And as a result, you're getting a lot, I think, understandably, working class whites who are more receptive to extremist appeals, because no one has a solution for anyone's problems. I mean, they obviously, I'll say, as Black people, there's no solution for our problems coming damn near from any level of government, including our local governments. And that extends to almost every other segment of American society, except for the more well-to-do sectors who, have money to invest. I mean, look, you want me to tell you what, this is part of the problem. The overwhelming majority of the investment that most Americans have is in a piece of property. That is the American dream. And so people are fighting tooth and nail, like the president said, because he recognizes, are fighting tooth and nail to keep their little piece of the American dream. And that fight will continue so long as we don't kind of like reform our policies and try to think things anew.
Suburban lifestyle dream.
And yeah.
I mean, I was watching the CNN show, Different Shades with Kamal Bell, the comedian, and right. He was interviewing the Black farmers, and what was so interesting, it said in 1920, Black people owned 13% of the land in the United States. In 2020, we own less than 1%. According to that show. I thought it was interesting because it blew my mind. You know,
there must have been if that's so, then there must have been a lot of black farm ownership, because that's a lot of land.
Exactly. But it was a lot of black land ownership, period, because they said 13% of the land. They didn't break it down. But at the end of the day, even black land ownership, you know, is down in 2020. And, you know, and land is part of freedom in the United States. Whether we realize it or not, owning property is part of freedom. You know, and we have to have a renewed thinking on even owning property, even because even my family, we own like 30 acres in North Carolina, and the older generation, that my mother and they sell it, but the younger generation be like, no, we're gonna keep it.
Is it a farm?
Right?
Is it a farm? That's interesting. Is it a farm?
Yeah.
Wow.
But we really haven't done it. No, it hasn't been. It hasn't been. It has. We rent it out, you know, for a couple of acres here and there. But we are in the process of, God willing, doing something very nice with it, in farming. You know, so.
Well, anyway, production for consumption, Damon. You should grow food down there, and have
well,
enough.
I mean,
look at his shirt, Charles. Look at his shirt.
Well, no. Yeah, exactly. Well, part of it is that too, but
plant-based prosperity, Damon.
Well, we're also talking about growing hemp. I mean, if we do the hemp farm, we will be the largest hemp farm in North Carolina. So that's a discussion. So I mean, it's a lot of hands in the, it's a family discussion. So hopefully we'll do that. Hopefully, and then I'll be selling some hemp in New York, man.
but talk real quick. Talking about what you talk about, plant-based living. We need to get back to growing our own fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. We used to do more of that than we do now.
That's because we own more land. Right. It goes hand in hand with owning land. Right. If you own land, you grew your vegetables, you farm. But since we're not land owners like we used to be, and part of that is on us, man, because a lot of our parents came up from down south, and they had nothing to do with it because they was on the farm their own life. Once they came up to the north, they didn't want in the south. Like, you couldn't get my mother was like, absolutely not. I'm not going back to that farm, because they worked on the farm all their life, and that was a lot of black families, man. And then the younger generation didn't understand the importance of owning land, and they sold it off or let it go into foreclosure. So we have to re-educate ourselves in the importance of owning land, and having land. So I mean, it's just so much that needs to get changed. And while everybody was talking, I was comparing. I'm going to put the link of the 1992 report. And, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to whoever did the 2010 report, but it's nothing on the 1992 report, right? Their recommendations is like 4 or 5. And the 1992 report on, I'm looking right now at economic development. Their recommendations is like 3 pages.
Is the 92 report online?
Yeah, I'm gonna send you the link.
Okay, good.
We have to thank Dr. Bob for finding it. He's a great researcher. Absolutely. Found it in New Rochelle. He found it in.
Oh yeah, I went to the library and got that, right?
Yeah, you found it, man. Like, Bob was on it, man. Bob was on it. It was like striking gold, because I had a copy in the 90s, and through moving I lost it. You move and you just after a while, you just can't find something. But I always remembered it, and I always referenced it, and none of the politicians pushed back on it because I knew about it. I knew about what they did, what they did to Greenberg, which was sad. When you have all those black businesses and you trick all those homeowners to sell their homes, to build a mall, right? To put a strip mall there, and it was very sad on what they did. I'm trying to put it in the room, but
So
we have to.
as you look for that, Damon,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to say that I think there are impersonal forces at work that are compelling people to make economic decisions that, in retrospect, often look to be misguided. So in the case of both the ownership of farms and also independent businesses on the part of Black people, I think we have to take into consideration that there are forces that are leading to that. So the mechanization of agriculture in the South is a big thing that basically makes it more difficult for the independent farmer to eke out a living. My grandfather, my grandparents own, they just, my grandfather passed away this year, but my family still owns property down in Accomack, Virginia. And my grandfather, before he came to New York, he was an independent farmer. He had actually been an agricultural laborer, the first couple of years of his life. He told me he was out picking various kinds of crops as a kid in the 1930s. And he continued, eventually got some land and he used to farm it. But he gave it up because it wasn't profitable as other opportunities. And so if you're a small owner, property owner, it just is, it can be a greater challenge. And I think in the same way, something similar occurred that led to the decline of Black businesses, because in conjunction with desegregation, you at the same time have the rise of sort of retail box operations. If you look at some of the reports, AJ and I have discussed this a little bit. If you look at the city plans that were published for Mount Vernon during the 1960s, it's very clear that city leaders are concerned that the rise of cross-county and the malls, the mallification of America, is going to lead to the demise of local businesses because they can no longer compete. Rents are lower, parking is greater availability, the economies of scale that you can buy. If you're buying 10,000 products, you can get them a dollar cheaper than if you just buy 10. So all those things together are kind of working against, we see it even today. We're in the midst of watching retail operations collapse because everything is going online now. So those are factors that are at work that we as a nation, I don't think, have ever really been willing to deal with, precisely because amongst other things, because of our hostility to any kind of regulation of the economy. We just think if you let people do what they want.
Home Depot, the expansion of Home Depot shut down a lot of your local locksmith on the corner, your local plumber, a lot of things, because now you can go to this one place and get it all. And same thing with Walmart. It's shutting out like a lot of the smaller stores that dealt with some of that stuff. Because again, like Bob said, they can buy it in so much bulk, and then they have hundreds of stores, so they can buy thousands and thousands where you're buying dozens. You understand what I'm saying? And you can't compete with the price, and it hurts. It hurts the small businesses.
So all I would say to moderate a little bit is certainly know what you're talking about, AJ, but the Home Depots of the world, while they may have destroyed one kind of business and one kind of job, they created another kind of job. And they're very large businesses that employ lots and lots and lots of people. So, there's more than one side, but I certainly hear what you're saying. But I want to say something else very interesting. While Bob was speaking, talk about timely. I got an alert here from the New York Times. The department store Lord & Taylor has filed for bankruptcy. I just got this 2 seconds ago. The chain, which was already struggling, is the latest retailer to fail during the pandemic. There you go.
I need to pay my bill then.
Yeah. I don't know. Thinking, where am I going to get suits and sport jackets from?
No, I'm laughing at David though. I'm laughing with David.
I better pay hey, listen, man, I better pay my bill then too.
It's interesting to me that you shop at Lord & Taylor. You like Lord & Taylor, Damon?
I would just go in there, man. I would just take my card now and then and buy some polo out there, man.
Dr. Bob's a Lord & Taylor.
And some cologne or
right.
for the wife.
Dr. Bob
my big behind, I really couldn't.
And do you go to the one on Ridge Hill or the one in Scarsdale?
No, the one in Scarsdale. The one I never liked. The one in Ridge Hill didn't have anything, man. They didn't even have nice socks. I tell you what's going on there. The one in Ridge Hill is like basically for women. It's like 90% women, nothing,
10% men.
Yeah.
The one in Scarsdale has a much more
bigger men's section.
developed men's department.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Right. I don't go to Lord & Taylor at Ridge Hill because they don't have nearly as extensive sales. Because like AJ said, I like to go to Lord & Taylor. I ain't been there lately because I know him, but occasionally AJ and I go up there together, but that's because they got stuff on sale. So
what'll happen?
Yeah.
You know what'll happen, guys?
I was going to say this.
You could come up on Lord & Taylor with some of the markdowns when they change the seasons.
Yeah,
you can come up on Lord & Taylor if you know what you're looking for.
Yeah, what'll happen is Lord & Taylor will file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Meantime, some other bigger company, Amazon or somebody, they'll buy the name Lord & Taylor and they'll start marketing clothes under the label Lord & Taylor online. And that's what'll happen. And there's more where that came from, right? But I think it's problematical.
I think the pandemic showed a lot of these big business how little they need large workforces and how much more stuff they can get done online as opposed to brick and mortar. Because now you're ordering everything's being delivered now, and you're not going physically in. Well, we couldn't go physically in stores for a while, and you're like I said, you're ordering more stuff online. Prime and FedEx trucks come down my block 20 times a day dropping off stuff. Like I know people are ordering stuff. Yeah.
I wanted to say that one possible policy tool, I think that often goes underutilized today, is our antitrust legislation. As you guys probably heard, Congress hauled the leaders of the CEOs of all the big tech companies before them this week out of concern that they have an almost monopolistic control over the emerging social media platforms and also over the flow of information, which I think is the main concern of the hearing. But the proposal is to use antitrust legislation to try to break up some of these big concerns and to re-inject some competition into them. This is a big problem that is going on right now, is that as we go over to web-based commerce and people are able to consolidate their operations through digital means, competition is being eliminated, and therefore if you don't have a competitor, that means you're free to set prices at whatever rate you want. You're no longer responding to market forces.
Bob.
So this is something that we could consider. Yes.
Bob, I think that you are striking at the center of the epicenter of a lot of bigger problems. And then it's not to take any thunder away from the civil rights issues and all the other things that we're talking about these days. Right. But I think that this antitrust stuff, I think it has a central, powerful impact on income inequality, but also opportunity equality. So in other words, if you concentrate all the wealth and all the power in a very small number of hands, which is what's happening as a result of, the trusts that we now have in so many aspects of our life, tech being one big example that's on trial right now. When you concentrate all the money and all the power in the hands of a small number of people, you don't have a democracy. You don't have opportunity. And I think that is suffocating people's opportunity to have any opportunity of prosperity, because it holds down wages, it holds down options for people. It's everything. It's everything. And I think that's got to be one of the top priorities of the new administration, is to really take a look at, why do we have 4 or 5 companies managing all of big tech? Why do we have 4 or 5 companies, all of pharma? Why do we have 4 or 5 companies, 4 big accounting firms, and 4 of these and 4 of that? Your cell phone, there's only 4 companies. There's only 4 phone companies left in the world right now.
And Sprint and T-Mobile just merged.
Right. And the government, some antitrust department in the Justice Department had to approve that deal. So that's got to get addressed, because, you have Citizens United. So companies are people, but if the people are so large and so powerful that they've got more assets than, the entire United Kingdom, every country combined, then you don't have democracy. That's, I think, very central to everything that's going on. And it's all wired into all these other issues that are plaguing this country.
One of our listeners was listening about the big box stores. She said many towns have separate sections in their towns devoted to big box stores. In Yorktown, Bedford, etc., they're on the edge of town in the main shopping district that is easy access or small business. And then she said places like Goldberg's Hardware in Tarrytown is actually less expensive than Home Depot. And I was saying that about another hardware store that was a local hardware store too. Actually, you know what me and Bob were talking about? Uncle Frank's store, Trusco. Trusco,
right.
If some of his landscape, some of the tools that Frank Trusco had, his prices are competitive and sometimes better than Home Depot, and he's local here in Mount Vernon. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to support that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? His prices are just like she said about his hardware store in Tarrytown. Some of our local stores are better than Home Depot.
You know what the problem is, Damon? In the 80s, really in the late 1980s, 90s, and 2000s, those big box stores came through places like New Rochelle, and they just took over. They dominated. They cut big deals. They made their deals with the local village people and the town council members, and everybody got a piece of the action. And it's going to take generations for that trend to reverse. They pay very, very low rent. They pay super low wages. And it's easy to run large, very scalable, profitable businesses. But it's, if you're a small business trying to compete with Home Depot, lots of luck. Lots of luck.
Talking about small wages, I've often said when I lived in Atlanta, Walmart was one of the biggest employers, and one of the and most of the people, including management, were on some sort of subsidy, some kind of food stamps or something, some kind, because they didn't make a livable wage.
That's what Bernie Sanders. Well, that's what Bernie Sanders was talking about. And I'm not a Bernie bro, but he was right about that, which is that, hey, you built this massive, monopolistic, gigantic, profitable company, and your people are getting, financial assistance from the public. So it's like our taxes are financing your success. It's not fair. So, I think people are finally beginning to wake up to some of this. And I'll let you in on something. Yesterday, I was in the car for 11 hours, and I listened to the C-SPAN playback of the entire hearing with the head of Facebook, Apple, Amazon, and Google. And, you know, I think their time is up. I think that the time, listen, they all have problems. They've got antitrust problems, anti-competitive, pricing, fixing. They've got every problem you can possibly have. And I think that although they've done some wonderful things and they've developed tools that we all use every day and we all love, they got to clean up their act. And the government probably needs to break them up. I think Elizabeth Warren is right about that one.
I wanted to touch on this just briefly. One of the things of the show that I'm putting together is a show, and I told you, Charlie, already about it, is with some of the school superintendents, the uncertainty of what everybody is facing with the school year. I got Dr. Hamilton in Mount Vernon, Dr. Chase and Greenberg, Dr. Casada in Yonkers. I think the Austin School Board superintendent is down too. But I just wanted to talk to you, you know, being involved with a school when the president demands that schools are open, and then you're all on your own on how you open, because there's no national help. And I know in Mount Vernon, when I first moved here, the young girl who lived here, on her list of school supplies her parent had to buy in 2014 was toilet paper and things like that. Now, I guess it's going to be PPE and other stuff. If I guess that's what we're looking at, because you're making schools go back to school, but you're not providing a national help for them. So again, with all the different school districts, we're going to have all these different issues on how to do that, because there's no national leadership or help from the national government. And being involved in the school, I just wonder, and that's right. Just a big local, right. There's a big thing going on. Going to the school, I want to get your take on that a little bit.
Well, my take on it is what you said a second ago, is exactly what's causing this whole problem. There's no national leadership. There's no national guidance on what to do. And that is causing really significant problems. You know, I'm gonna share opinion, and then I'm gonna infuse it with some fact. My opinion, well, let's start with the fact. The fact is there is a deadly viral pandemic. There is no cure. There is no treatment. There's barely a testing plan. The contact tracing is compromised because the testing plan is not good. How can you possibly socially distance hundreds of children in a building? How can you possibly bring in a staff? Many of the staff members are over 55, 60 years old. How can you possibly safely expect those people to work and deliver a safe program to those kids? My opinion is the opinion part. Now, everything I said up to this point was fact. The opinion part is I don't think you can. And I think that notwithstanding, I know I'm sweeping in a broad brush here. It's a problem for parents. People need to go back to work. School solves a lot of problems for people in addition to education. I get it, but I don't see how you're going to slow down the spread, the community spread of COVID-19 in a public school environment. Now, you know, you asked me to comment on specifically what I know about. Amani Public Charter School issued a reopening plan initial statement, and it says in bold, we are proposing a phased reopening plan that will begin with 100% digital learning. That's it. It's the only way that they can safely do it. And so that school is making an individual choice. The school districts are going to make different choices. Maybe they'll have hybrid, 3 days on and 2 days off, or A, B, and they'll do different things. I must tell you also, I'm a little surprised that the teachers union is not pushing back more aggressively. And maybe this will still happen. But I don't see how the schools can open up in September. I really don't.
Lorraine put something that was comical on Facebook today, but then I thought about it. She said, you're going to send your kid to school on a patrol course face mask, and they're gonna come home with a Spider-Man face mask because they just traded it with their friend. And kids do stuff like that. And I was just thinking about the implications of that alone. Like, oh my God.
It's an interesting point. It's an interesting point. It's a mess. I don't know. I understand that I got a kid who went through half of ninth grade on his Chromebook. I'm not happy about that. Nobody's happy about that. But where I personally draw the line is I don't want to see anybody get sick. I don't want to get sick. Let me tell you something. Last week, I had a sore throat. I wasn't feeling well several days in a row. I felt like I had a symptom, so I went and I got the test. Thank God it was negative. I do not have COVID-19, but it's not that easy to get the test. And people aren't doing it. And then the ones who are doing it, I had to wait 5 days for the results.
That's another thing I want to say. That was on ESPN, sorry to interrupt you. They said, so for the basketball players to have the season or whatever, they got this test that they get the results in a half an hour. But for the rest of us, we get these tests, you might not know for like 7 weeks or sometimes 7 days or 2 weeks how you can do contact tracing because all the people you came in contact with while you're waiting for a test to see if you have it, for those who have it, are just spreading it.
And so in the middle of all that, we're going to open up schools. I mean, let's just use the Monty Public Charter School as a simple example because I'm familiar with it. 350 children, approximately 45 adults. I might be off by a couple. And it's one building. You've seen the building on South 3rd Avenue.
Right.
And it's impossible. Even if you do 2 shifts or, alternate days, there's no way to have 350 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th graders in proximity and have them be 6 feet apart at all times. The bathroom, whatever they need to do, passing each other in the hallway with the teachers. I mean, it's very sad, guys. I don't know if you guys know this, but somebody that worked at that school passed away earlier in the spring.
See, and you're dealing with
from COVID-19.
You're dealing with one school where superintendents are dealing with several school buildings in their school district. You know what I'm saying? Like, so what you're dealing with, multiply that by 10, 12, buildings.
I don't know how they can do that. I just don't see how they can do that. I mean, I saw de Blasio apparently is opening up the schools on some modified basis, and they're drawing the line. I think there's currently a 1%. I don't remember the metrics, but there's a 1% metric. If it goes up to 3%, then they'll pull it back. I mean, I just don't. Who wants to be in the middle of that situation? Nobody.
A question for Damon. Deb asks, I'm still on the farm. How could healthy, tasty, economical meals be made with fresh vegetables and fruits with animals and vegan protein, but be made for mass and low-income folks? Is there a demand and or need for that? Well, I'll take the meat part out for you because you don't have no meat in your diet. But
what did she say?
She said, "I'm still on farms." Oh, okay. She's still on the topic of farms. Sorry.
Right.
And she said she was still on a farm. I missed that.
Yeah, that's what I had to get clear too. I'm like, what? She on the farm?
That's what. How can healthy, tasty, economical meals with fresh veggies, fruits, and then she said with animal and vegan protein. You don't eat animals, but be made in mass for low-income folks. ... Is there a demand and or need for that?
Well, the problem that we are facing in low-income communities is that they eat cheap food, processed food, which gives after a while you get those chronic illnesses and diseases. Processed meats are carcinogen, right? That's like drinking poison. I mean, and that's not what I'm saying that's what they classified it as. If you could pull that up on the internet. If you're going to eat fresh fruits and vegetables, eat fresh fruits and vegetables. Also the problem is we go back to resources, right? So if you have a single mother who has 3 kids, who needs to work 3 jobs, right? She's not thinking about cooking fresh fruits and vegetables. She's thinking about, how can I get these kids fed in between me going and coming from work. So the quickest alternative to feed hungry mouths that are loud and crying and doing all that is to stop at McDonald's or to go at the corner deli and get sandwiches and whatnot. So we're faced back to having resources, and you have what they call food deserts, where a lot of poor communities can't even get fresh fruits and vegetables. Right. If you do look some at the supermarkets in poor distressed communities, they do not have the ripest vegetables and the freshest fruit. So, we have to continue to address that. So, I mean, I recommend trying not to eat as much meat as possible. I recommend trying not to eat as much processed meat as possible. Those slices, them deli slices and stuff like that, that's not really good for you. But I mean, it's definitely a process, and an understanding and taking time of educating yourself on what to eat and not to eat, but because we're pushed that in our face. I was watching a Kraft cheese commercial where, they had the kids sitting there and they put fresh broccoli on it, and the kid is like, push it away, and then they pour some cheese on it, that will clog your artery and ultimately kill you in the long run. And the kid is like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So they're programming our children, to eat things, and knowing that dairy, the majority of people, especially Black people, right, are lactose intolerant, right? We don't digest, and that's medical fact. That's not me talking. That's medical fact. So, and we don't process dairy food as well, right? But they constantly push dairy on us. So, I mean, we have to educate ourselves. So, I mean, back to fruits and vegetables. The best fruits to eat are fresh fruits and fresh vegetables.
And we do have a couple of spots, like I know Ken Bright's organization does fresh fruits, for the community, for you to pick up for those who, in need and can. And I know even the Dole Center has, like, the fresh fruit market comes to the Dole Center. So we do have some fresh fruit. Shout out to Brenda L. Crump, who often picks some up for me and drops them off. So I usually get that while I'm working and can't get there. So shout out to her.
So let me ask you a question that I don't know if anyone here knows. Where are the farmers markets in Mount Vernon, Yonkers, and some of the other communities with densities of African American people? Is there a farmers market?
I didn't fully hear your question, Charles.
Farmers where are the farmers markets in like Mount Vernon, Rochelle, Yonkers, and Black community? Where are the farmers markets?
I know there used to be one. There used to be one in Mount Vernon. I believe it was at the Church on the Circle. I don't know if it's still there.
I know they got like a little food stand thing on the ad where McDonald's used to be back in the days, for older people that remember where McDonald's was in the ad. They have like a little fruit stand there. And I know I've gone with both David and Bob to the little fruit stand over by CVS and Fleetwood a couple of times. Coming from the show, we come that way. It's like, a little fresh fruit stand. I've gotten fruits and stuff from there especially. So I don't know if that doesn't answer your question though. But
what I'm talking about is a farmer's market.
No, I don't think we have any farmers markets like what used to be called a farmers market. I don't remember the last time I've seen one, and I don't know where those are. I'm not saying we don't have any, but I don't remember the last time I've seen a farmer's market. And I remember we've had those. I lived in, of course, most people know I lived in Long Island from 7 to 14. We had farmers markets in Suffolk County, Long Island, and Nassau County, Long Island, like literal farmers markets. Like here. But I don't know. I haven't seen one of those in a long time.
Used to be one. There used to be one at the church on the Circle, and the only other one that I'm familiar with is in Bronxville. And
go ahead, Bob.
I just wanted to say that in some respects, this question of food policy is also tied to monopolistic markets here in the United States. I mean, agribusiness, farm production is an immense business that's also dominated by large corporations whose main concern is to try to find ways to maximize their profits. So now, you know, the guy I like to follow on this, the one person that, you know, whose work I've read a little bit of, Michael Pugliani, who did the film Food Inc., in which he highlights all of the ways in which the modern food production system helps to create problems, including, on the one hand, inadequate nutrition, depending on how the markets operate, looking to include unnecessary additive to some food products, especially all the sugars that are in so many products we're eating, like the macaroni and shit like that. But in addition, also raises the issue of the relationship between modern food production systems and the rise of pandemics. And this is important to talk about. I have a friend, an acquaintance, you know, when I was in graduate school, he has his PhD in like microbiology or something like that, epidemiology. And some of the work that he's been doing on the start of the coronavirus epidemic traces again to this impulse to expand market production of food, new areas for farming. So as you make inroads into these once undeveloped areas and begin to drive out the wildlife, right? And they're coming into greater contact with human beings, there's transmission of disease across from one species to the next. So in many respects, I mean, I say this because I am a proponent of more vigorous government intervention in so many areas of life. And certainly, you know, I'm hoping that at least a Joe Biden presidency, if it's successful, would mean that we would maybe begin to make a course correction, counterbalance the free market extremes that the nation has gone through, I think, since 40, 50, 60 years.
We're counting on Joe Biden for a lot here.
So yeah, right. So Charles,
I'm praying for him, man.
Judge Adrian Armstrong, and congratulations on your new position. He said there's a farmers market in front of Mount Vernon City Hall on Wednesdays, at least before the pandemic. I know there's the same people that do the fresh fruit market at the Dole Center on Friday or every other Friday or something like that too.
Excellent. Thank you.
I haven't been to the one by City Hall. I've only been to the Dole Center one because that's right around the corner from me. But I think I've seen the pictures of the stuff that they've had out there. And he said that was on Wednesdays before the pandemic.
Well, thank you, Judge Armstrong, for that answer. I also learned that there's one in New Rochelle. Hang on here, I had it a second ago. There's one in New Rochelle at the Thomas Paine Cottage. And there's one in Peekskill on Bank Street. And there's one in, White Plains Farmers Market, Court Street between Martine Ave and Main Street in White Plains, Wednesdays.
Oh, yes, that's right.
From 9 to 2. Wednesdays from 9 to 2. So, you know, what I like about those farmers markets is everything is grown within 75 miles.
Yeah, and Charles, we need to work. Maybe you and I can work together and help put together a list. And we can put on Black Westchester on where to go and where these places are and when they're open. And maybe you can help me with a list or something like that you have the time.
All right. I've been enlisted.
As we come into the close of the show, I just wanted, we dealt with a lot of topics. I'm sure we didn't come to conclusions on everything because each one of those topics could have been a separate show. But is there any last words? Any where do we go from here? And some of the topics we talked about, what do we do? Like, any positive note that you can end on for any of the topics we talked about?
I got one positive. All the podcasts I've listened to, all the news reports I've heard seem to indicate that the prospects of a COVID-19 vaccine are pretty good. The testing is going well. The research is going well. Dr. Fauci said that he's cautiously optimistic that in late 2020 or early 21, there will be a widely available vaccine. So that's the positive. That's the positive.
My concern is, what does widely available mean as far as our communities? So what happens in a lot of those situations, it does not trickle down to the hood. Like, those are not the people who get it first. And then sometimes it's price.
Question.
People can't afford it. So I want to hear how that, I know that's not an answer you can answer, but I want to see how.
Well, I have another question. So that's one question. I don't have an answer, AJ, but I have another question. And the follow-up question is, if there's a widely available vaccine, will people take it?
Unfortunately, the answer is too many people won't.
There's that. Go ahead.
I had a young man who answered my class. It was in my class a couple of years ago, and he said to me, "Professor Baskerville, what do you think of the flat Earth theory?" And I said to him, "You need to stop asking your professors dumb shit." And I use that because there's a lot of dumb shit, dumb shit that Americans are falling prey to. Dumb, discarded, scientifically invalid ideas that a lot of Americans subscribe to, including, there's going to be a conspiracy theory that will persuade. We have an anti-vaxxer movement. We are in the midst, if we are not careful here in the United States, of an impending dark ages where the real, I find this astounding. One of the real contributions that Western society can lay claim to as its lasting legacy is the seminal role that it played in the development of science. And do you know that you have lots of, and this speaks to the racial issue, you have lots of white Americans who are conservative-minded, persuaded that there is an assault on Western culture. And yet, the most insidious assault on one of the real hallmarks, one of the real achievements of Western culture is precisely conservatives, I think led mainly by powerful whites, but also in conjunction with powerful black people, everyday black people who keep on saying, who keep on trying to cast doubt on science and expertise, and no one's knowledge is infallible. Scientist is not a pope, but so many people have convinced themselves that they're going to get autism if they take a vaccine, that you want me to tell you what, Americans ain't going to take it.
And then I've also
There's not a cure.
Yeah, Bob,
there is no cure for
just
the coronavirus right now.
But Bob, I also heard the Tuskegee experiment thing. Like, they're gonna test it on blacks first, and we're gonna be all jacked up before they find. I've heard that several times. And those people are not taking anything and not giving their kids anything.
So AJ, that's real. And so what my understanding of this is that there's this thing in the world called herd immunity. And in order for the vaccine to work, about 80%, I think Dr. Fauci said he'd prefer to see 85% of all people eligible for the vaccine get the vaccine in order for it to be the most effective, because it's all arithmetic. It's not just that you become vaccinated, but you were trying to vaccinate an entire population. And in order for that to happen, you know, he said 70 to 80% have to get the vaccine. 85% would be better. Well, I heard on this podcast yesterday when I was in the car for 11 hours, you listen to a lot, they said that they think right now about only 50% of Americans would get the vaccine. So we got to get from that 50% level up to that 80, 85% level in order for the vaccine to be effective. And that's assuming that we have an effective vaccine. So there's going to be a lot of work.
And with the current government, that extra, that other 40% or 30% ain't us. The 30% that's not getting it is us. So, Damon.
It's a problem. It's a problem.
Yes.
Last words, anything you want to put out there? Anything you want to say, add to the conversation?
No, I just think we have to continue having these conversations. And we have to agitate. There's no better time than now, right? Now is the time. Whatever we need socially, economically, you know, if we don't put it on the table for our politicians and our leaders, we don't put it on the table now, right? You know, I mean, you got everybody's talking Black Lives Matter, right? You can't, you know, now even baseball fields, basketball courts, you know.
Hey, it was in a hockey game last night.
Yeah. So everybody's talking Black Lives Matter, right? So let's see if it really matters. You know, it only matters when you put your money where your mouth is, right? It's good to give a slogan. Baseball and basketball and everybody else, it's good to say a slogan. I get it. But we have to put our money where our mouth is. We have to put on a program to distribute wealth equally. You know, until we're talking about distribution of wealth and empowering poor communities, right? We ain't talking nothing. Like James Brown said, you talking loud, you ain't saying nothing. So, you know, I want to have that conversation, right? I want to see when the politicians are going to create these pieces of legislation when they defund the police department, but refund in community and refund in real social justice programs and initiatives and policies and legislations. And I said that to say, come on out August 20th in Greenberg. You know, when we're saying that same thing, right? And we're honoring families that lost loved ones to gun violence, but we're not just saying Black Lives Matter to everybody. Black Lives Matter have to matter to Black people too. Because when you're having this type of crime and
Black people first, yeah,
in the community, and we're killing each other, and we're running down the street spraying bullets and killing 1-year-old babies, we have to address ourselves. We have to take responsibility. You can't say Black Lives Matter and you don't vote. You can't say Black Lives Matter and you don't fill out the census. You can't say Black Lives Matter and you're not respecting your elderly and your women in your community. You can't say that. You can't say that. Then you're just talking. And all those Black Lives Matter protest profiteers, if you're not talking about that too, then you ain't saying nothing neither. So we have to put that on the table, and we have to address crime and violence in our communities, and we have to take responsibility too. So I hope our people will come out August 20th, so we can have a great conversation about it, and show the elected officials that Black Lives Matter to us first. And in order for us to do what we need to do, we need policies and legislations to assist us to do it. We ain't asking for no handouts. We're asking for our politicians to do what we put them in there. That's it.
Where's that going to be, Damon?
Yosemite Park in Greenberg, behind the Theodore Young Community Center. And from 6 to 8 p.m. And come on out. We won't have a barbecue, but we'll have some food for people, you know, some water and stuff like that.
So while you were talking, while you were doing that whole thing, and you probably wasn't looking at the screen, you got lots of hearts and thumbs ups and amens and absolutelys when you were just speaking just now.
Good. So I hope I see you all out there with your hearts and thumbs up and absolutely at the rally.
So Derek
You
Lawrence
already got 10 recruits.
right. So Derrickson Lawrence said, "I am moved by the diversity of issues discussed, but the top of mind is schools reopening in the next few weeks." We touched upon that a little bit. I don't know if it was before you tuned in, Derrickson. And I also have announced that I'm putting together a show with the local area superintendents, Dr. Hamilton in Mount Vernon, Dr. Casada in Yonkers, Dr. Chase in Greenberg, and I forget the name of the Ossining superintendent, and maybe one more. And we're going to have this conversation soon. So we will be dealing with that. And she said, and there's no consensus of mitigation of the implication on the He's saying the same thing. We need a plan to go back to school, and he wants that to be more of a conversation. So I thank you for tuning in. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Again, this is our official 6-year anniversary episode. This is episode 270. We've actually done 270 shows. So and this was good because we really didn't have Bob. I was going to actually run a rerun show. Bob wanted to have a discussion on the Fair Housing Act, and this gets us back to some of the original shows Damon and I used to do, where this is what we used to do. We used to just bounce out a bunch of different items that were, issues that were issues of the day or whatever, and we would just have this big discussion. And we've gotten away from that a lot, dealing with the elected officials and stuff, and that's necessary, but this is what the show started out, the people before politics. This is the formula for the show. Yes, Bob?
I was just going to say that I'm hoping maybe in the future, one of my colleagues at Bronx Community College will come on air, because he's actually done in-depth study of the housing market, the housing situation in Westchester, how it relates to segregation and stuff. So I sent him a belated invitation. He may be available in a couple of weeks.
Well, when you can set him up, let him know, and we can definitely have that conversation. Damon Louise Cherigo in Greenberg said, I'll be there. She lives on Manhattan Avenue, so that's not too far for her. So she said she will be there. Congratulations. Thank you for the congratulations. Yeah, this is our 6-year anniversary, and our official, so our 6-year anniversary of the website, Black Westchester Magazine, was July 15th. Today is the official 6-year anniversary of the radio show, and August 2020 issue the paper will be the 3-year anniversary of the newspaper. It will be out in 2 weeks, probably somewhere around the 13th or the 14th. I'm going to need everybody's help getting it out to everywhere we need to get it to. But we're excited about that. I'm finishing the touches of that. There's still a few spots left for those who want to advertise or congratulate us through advertisement. This is the last week for that, so you need to do that this week. blackwestchester@gmail.com. With that, I think that's it. Any last words? Anybody else? Any last words? Anything else anybody want to say?
My only last word is congratulations on 6 years. Congratulations on the recent accolades that you received and the awards, much deserved. Black Westchester is pretty awesome. You've built an audience, you've filled a niche, and there's a shortage of local news and information and news analysis in the world. And I think Black Westchester does an outstanding job with that. So guys, congratulations. You deserve just tremendous accolades.
Thank you. And we enjoy when we can have guests like you on that bring, another level to what we're doing and add to what we're doing. You definitely have been a great addition and a great contributor to what we're doing. So we'd like to thank you. And again, happy birthday to Bob and Damon, who just had birthdays this week. They're getting kind of old there. They're getting old.
Man, I'm getting 3 more years and I will officially be retired.
Oh, I can't say nothing because I'm actually older than both of them. So
right. I'm on the countdown. Thank Lord Jesus.
You got any plant-based Saturdays coming up? Anything next week or anything else? Any plant-based Saturdays?
Yeah, I'll let everybody know. I'm waiting to hear back. It's going to be a joint interview with Black Westchester and Plant-Based Power. Hopefully, we have Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams.
Yes, I've been trying to get him on there.
Good guest. It's a good guest.
About his run for mayor, to talk about the COVID, how it affects, and also to talk about his transition to a plant-based lifestyle and why he did that, and his journey to be a spokesperson for healthy eating. And you could go on the Brooklyn Borough President website, and they have a link. They have a whole page in healthy eating and plant-based lifestyle. So, we're gonna have a good talk about that. We're gonna bring Brother Arthur Muhammad. I gotta post it. But we're going to schedule and go down to the community garden and have an interview at the garden. And so that's going to be something different coming up. And I have my cousin coming on, Kelly Jefferson. I was just texting her. She's a life coach, and she also is the owner of Natural Girls Rock, which is a worldwide business on dealing with Black women and natural products, natural hair, natural makeup, everything natural. So, and she's been traveling the world with Natural Girls Rock, and it's a whole movement. So I'm going to have her on talking, and now she's a life coach. So we're going to talk. So, I mean, we have good people coming on.
That's what's up. I got one last milestone.
Bob.
So Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, I just thought you guys might want to mention to the audience the upcoming police forum.
Oh, yes. Go ahead, Damon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you could say more because you guys know.
Absolutely. I always have to make clear, even, I'm not speaking for the police forum, right? I'm just telling people they need to come out. Is this Wednesday, August 5th, 6 to 8 p.m., right? Now, if you want to do it in person, right, here are the locations. Yonkers Riverfront Library, the Westchester County Board of Elections, interesting, second floor. The Neighborhood Center at Peekskill Field Library, New Rochelle City Hall Council Chamber, Mount Kisco Public Library Community Room, right? And they're offering an additional digital forum where residents speak their comments, but I'm suggesting people, you have to call. Well, you could register, but the toll-free number, they said register, but then they said the toll-free number is 1-844-621-3956, access code 161-433-5872 to call in. And I guess there's a way to see the virtual forum, but I will suggest anybody that has any questions can please email policereformtf@westchestergov.com or call 914-995-2921. And we'll place all that information.
We'll share that on our social media as well.
Yeah, and it'll be on my page. I'll post it up on my page. So anybody wants the information, you could definitely and definitely call. Look, as I told people, right? The squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Right.
People talk about police reform, here's your chance to give your opinion to the committees. I'm on one of the committees, but I want the people. I want the people to say how they feel. I want the people to talk about their experiences. I want the people to talk about how they feel their communities are policed and what are the changes that's needed. We have to talk about it, right? And the people's voice must be heard. It must be heard. Here's your opportunity, right? Here's your opportunity to say something. And y'all have to understand, it's just not, this is for Westchester County. Every municipality, according to Governor Cuomo's executive order, every municipality in the state must submit their police reform agenda by April 1st next year. Every municipality. So some people that are watching from Mount Vernon, you say, why Mount Vernon is not on the list? This is the first round of forums. I was told that Mount Vernon will be on the second round, but that just because Mount Vernon is coming on the second round, don't stop you from participating in these. Still make your voices heard. And when it comes back to those cities that those other cities, then, and if it's in your city, then go to that one too and make your voice heard again. Because I'm guaranteed by the time that one, something's going to happen in policing that's going to piss everybody off, but no matter what side you're on. So please make your voices heard. That's the only way the committee is able to do their job, with feedback from the community. It has to have feedback from the community. So, you know, we can only do what we do, but y'all have to, I mean, people have to hold their own and be responsible, you know, for themselves. This is, you know, you want to see, this is part of democracy, I guess, right? People having a say. And this is real community policing, right? This is what it's about. The community having a say on how their community is being policed. So this is they're actually doing what community policing, according to my mentor, Professor Bell, who originated community policing. This is it, having a voice in how policies, procedures, and training and the culture affects your community. So if I don't, all your Facebook people, I know who you are. If I don't see you on the virtual and I don't see you in the public, I'm going to tell you to shut up when you talk about all that police talk on Facebook. Because if you don't come out and say something, I'll call you out personally.
You do not want to get called out. You do not want to get called out by.
That's why I'm here.
Exactly. Come on, man. Come on. Let's do it. Let's do it. Here's the chance to change. We're at the crossroads with everything, man. We're at the crossroads. If we don't get it done now, we ain't gonna get it done now for another 100 years. I ain't gonna be around to make noise. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. I don't think I'll be here 100 years. It'll be nice. No, never mind. I don't want to be here 100 years. Absolutely not. So I'll be in a wheelchair, man, and drooling at the mouth, 150 years old. Nope, I'll pass.
So, ending up, but that's very important. Listen to what Damon said. Also, check out the forum we did with Keith Olsen, the police forum, and look out for part two whenever we're going to do that. And look out for part two. Hector Lopez has said he wants to be involved in part two. So I just wanted to leave on another monumental moment, at least in my life. 32 years ago today, August 2nd, 1988, my debut album dropped from my group JVC Force called Doing Damage. Most know the song Strong Island was the big hit for that song. So that was actually released 32 years ago today was the release date. I'm reminded, shout out to my partner Beloved, William Taylor. As I've been talking, if you heard little alert noises going on, that's what he's been posting all over the place. My phone kept going boop, 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 because he kept posting. So I'm glad he did to remind me. Yeah, that's a really big deal. Thank you for everybody who still holds us down. overseas, they love us. All the people that still hold us down, thank you very much. May the force be with you. Thank you for keeping the name alive. Yo, with that, we out. You could be doing anything else right now, but you decided to ride with us, and we greatly appreciate it. This has been Black Westchester Presents, the COVID version of the People Before Politics radio show, episode 270, 6-year anniversary edition. Are you listening to it now, David? Are you listening to it? Are you listening to it?
Rock.
Well, turn it up a little bit. Maybe it'll go out on that.
Oh, man.
It went off real quick. We'll go out to the sound.
There it is. Wow.
Classic. That's a classic.
So yeah,
That's you.
My mom moved me from the Long Island between 7 and 14, and then after I came back out here for high school, and I went back and forth. And when I broke out in hip hop in 87, 88, I was living in Long Island. We made the song Strong Island, which is partially the reason they call Long Island Strong Island, a nickname we got from Public Enemy. Shout out to Chuck D, whose birthday was the other day, yesterday, I believe, or the day before. Shout out to Chuck D. Shout out to all my Long Island brethren. Yo, with that, we out, man. Until next week, peace.
Good night, everybody.
Yes, Charles.